Right, so you welcome back to the pause, and we've had a dose of legal issues so far, and we're into the second half of the show. But we are also keeping an eye on what is happening in Parliament, Katie Hammond and the LI to regulate cement pricing, and also there's also an ongoing meeting between the Electoral Commission Chair and some civil society organizations. But let's talk about something that has been ongoing. There appears to be no end in sight. They are under training to become teachers and help train the next batch of students of the country, experts, workforce, and industry leaders. But the training has faced significant challenges such as funding and infrastructure. That situation, though, is worse now as their teachers have abandoned the classroom over poor working conditions. They are now resorted to learning on their own in the absence of their teachers. At the Accra College of Education, academic activities are at a standstill after 14 days of strike. At the Wesley College of Education in Kumasi, academic activities have also significantly disrupted. We'll be hearing from the leadership of the students, lecturers, and the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. Right now, let's speak to my colleagues who've been to some of these colleges. Let's start here from Accra. Kenneth Jesse joins us with more. So, Kenneth, you were out and about. What did you find at the Accra College of Education?
Well, Elton, at the Accra College of Education, what we found was that there were, especially people there, there were not a lot of people there because we're told that most of them have left to their homes because they cannot afford to live on campus. Because the strike has persisted for long, they are scared that the academic calendar could be stretched further and the finances that they budgeted to the place could be exhausted if they continue to stay on campus. Now, those who have remained on campus have also complained that they're finding it hard to study. Their academic activities have been severely impacted, especially the final year students who have complained that they are finishing school in September. And if this strike continues to drag for a long time, they're scared that they will be compelled to finish somewhere in December. Now, the SRC president who I spoke with also did indicate that most of the students have been trooping into his office asking for money to survive on campus because the more idle they are, the more money they need to keep them going. So these are some of the issues that we found on campus. It's both academics and finances. All
right, so, thank you so much, Kenneth, for that update from the Accra College of Education. Let me see if I can also bring in Nana Boachi Yadong, who was also at the Wesley College in Kumasi. Nana Boachi, if you can hear me, what did you find on your tour of the college?
Well, Elton, when we visited the Wesley College of Education, we realized that the prolonged strike by CETAG is really biting hard on academic activities on the College of Education campus. Most of the students are left to roam on campus. Some of them were sitting under trees as their classrooms are being locked. We engaged some of them, and they are complaining bitterly about the fact that the strike is delaying a lot of academic activities that had to be held some time ago in the previous weeks. But then as the strike continues, they are left, their hopes are left in the balance as they even fear that their examination would be postponed. Now they are waiting upon the College of Education administration to say a word or two to them as CETAG engages the NLC this very afternoon. They are also waiting for the outcome of that particular meeting. But then on the College of Education campus in Kumasi, we realized that most of these students are left stranded, with many of them sitting under trees awaiting the final outcome of the engagement between the National Labour Commission and CETAG.
All right, Nana Boachi Yadong, thank you so much for that update. Now let me come to the studio, because Swale Razak is the president of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, and of course also be speaking to Larry Agbado, editor, Teacher Education Journal. So Swale, how is this impacting on your academic pursuit?
Yes, thank you. The strike action that has been embarked on by members of CETAG on the 14th of this month is really disrupting academic activities in all the colleges of education. Come to think of it, 18th of this month, teacher trainees were expected, those who had had issues with their academic results were expected to have their supplementary examinations on the 18th of this month. That has not come on because of this strike action. Other activities that include orientation, activities for level 300s and level 400 for them to go and undertake their micro teaching, and then also their field experience by the level 400s have come to a halt because of this strike activity. So if you long and short of it all, this strike is really impacting all the colleges of education, and trainees are really feeling its effects. And
as you heard one of my colleagues say, Kenneth, he says that September would be hot for, is it graduation?
Yes, September 7th is actually scheduled with the academic calendar for all colleges, the level 400, to complete the whole program. So on September 7th, they would have completed the whole program, and then we will now be thinking of licensure and then graduation, and then they can go to the job market. But as we talk now, because of the CETAG strike action, which has been in session since the 14th of this month, and entering into the second week, would really affect the academic calendar. And should that happen, the September 7th, we fear that it might have to be postponed.
I remember a year or two when they embarked on a similar one, the SRC held a news conference asking government to meet the demands of their lecturers so that they can come back to the classroom to work. There was some kind of a resolution, but not fully. The reason why we are back to the same situation now. On campus, in the absence of your lecturers, how are your students? How are they putting themselves in readiness so that in case they come back, they will be able to face their academic challenges?
Yes, of course. If you go across all the colleges of education, students are left stranded. Others have had to be taking their colleagues in 1 or 2 group studies. We recently released an update to all our constituents, urging them that they should use this particular time to engage in group discussions and also engage each other in academic activities, as we all hope and pray that CETAG, the membership of CETAG, will call off this strike and be back to the classrooms as soon as possible. So,
Swale, I'll let you hold on there. I don't know whether we have Agbadu on the line, the editor of the Education Journal, so that we can also find out what it makes of this. But until we do that, so what will be your appeal to government as the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, the National Labour Commission, find a way to resolve this matter? We understand there's ongoing a meeting there.
Yes, that is true. Actually, since the declaration, since we received notice from the membership of CETAG on this strike matter on the 14th, we've engaged with the leadership of PRINCOF. We've had engagement with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. We've equally gone to the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission as leadership to entreat them to fast-track the process, to ensure that our lecturers are back to the classrooms as soon as possible. We are always urging the government, as much as possible, they should try and meet the demands of the membership of CETAG, because should this strike prolong, our members would be affected. Feel the effect much.
All right, so Larry, I mean, you are editor of the Teachers Education Journal. What do you make of what is happening? I mean, these matters never get resolved completely.
Thank you very much, Elton. Just as you said, with your introduction, the colleges faced quite a number of challenges over the years. For quite a number of years now, I think this is one of the periods that they have all their students on campus at the same time. And having all students on campus at the same time, that we thought, okay, the academic calendar will have gone very smoothly for them. Then just as they were about to commence the second semester of the academic year, this CETAG strike had to hit them. It's quite a tough one, looking at what the colleges are going through or have been going through over the years. But if you also look at the concerns of CETAG, you realize that these are very genuine concerns that they have. The colleges, upon their migration to tertiary institutions, the tutors are demanding for better conditions of service. And I think NLC in the past had awarded them some compensations as well that they feel it's been long overdue. So their concerns are also quite genuine. And I think it would just be fair for government to come to the aid of the colleges and then see how best these issues can be addressed as soon as possible to restore back academic activities into the colleges.
Larry, I mean, because we don't have much time, and because you have been writing about teachers' issues in your paper, or your magazine. I mean, look at it this way. In terms of the agency that government is expected to attach to matters relating to teachers, teacher trainees, over the period we've heard about non-payment of the allowances, infrastructural issues, even look at CETAG. This is not the first time they are back on the strike. There was intervention, they went back to the classroom, the matter was not fully resolved, now they are on. Even the attachment of some seriousness to their issues leaves much to be desired. What do you make of this?
I've always said that government over the years has not prioritized teacher education, specifically with colleges of education. If you look at the attention that government has over the years given to our senior high schools as a result of the introduction of the free senior high school, if we had even just 10% of that attention or priority given to the colleges, I'm sure the colleges will have gone far. Though we've had some transformation in the colleges, but some of these issues that keeps coming up, I'm sure anyone in Ghana will get to know that issues of CETAG strike is not something new again, because almost every time they're always on strike. Almost every time they're always on strike. So you ask yourself, for how long will it take for their concerns to be heard and addressed once and for all? Of course, we hear other unions, other groups going on strike, the UTAG and the rest, but this CETAG one looks like it's now become a norm or a tradition that anytime colleges are about to begin a semester or begin an academic year, they always hit hard by these issues of strike. The colleges are already struggling. As we speak, if you speak to any of the managers of the colleges, the principals, they will tell you, even their reopening had to be delayed for 1 week because their managers are struggling to use 6 cedis, 50 pesos to feed them 3 times a day. And now these students have been on campus for 2 weeks and they are being fed, but no academic activity is ongoing. So these 2 weeks that they've been fed and nothing has happened. When they call off the strike, what is going to be happening to the 2 weeks that have been lost? You see, so I just feel that government as a whole has not attached a certain level of priority to issues of the colleges of education, and it's quite worrying.
All right, thank you so much, Larry, for your contribution to this discussion. Let me come back to the studio. Razak is here. So your principals, what are they also doing to keep the schools running?
Yes, our principals have been feeding us from the allowances that the government do pay us with. That's the 400 Ghana cedis. They pick a component of it, and then they manage it with the feeding. Like Mr. Larry Agbo said, the principals have been feeding us with 60 to 50 pesos for now.
60 to 50 pesos
a day? For a day.
Oh,
for
a
all
day.
the 3 meals that we
So
have
your breakfast, your lunch, and supper is 6 cedis.
6 cedis,
50 pesos for a day.
And then
what kind of food are you fed with?
Well, they just feed us with, sometimes you go in and then you have rice and beans, and then you go in, we have sometimes beans, and then they'll get you a porridge in the morning. But even with this 60 to 50 pesos, it has, our component have got to be slashed to add to the 60 to 50 pesos. So they pick a bit from the component that comes to the trainee to add that to the principals, so that they will be able to feed the colleges a little. Now, come to think of
your principals must be magicians to be feeding you 3 times a day with 6 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos.
Yes, we've always been appealing to the government to increase the allowance, so that the feeding component that goes to the principals would also increase, so that they would be able to feed us well on the campuses. But we've started. My predecessor had to write letter to the ministries that we have not seen any results. We are still going to the ministry almost all the time to seek for an increment that we are not seeing any results, and we hope that they would give us a listening ear too, because it's really not helping. Come to think of the new policy that have been rolled out in all the colleges of education, level 400 have had to stay outside the campus, the college community, whilst commuting to the various schools for their academic activities. Now, as I talk to you now, level 400 students feed themselves. They are living in rented apartments, and they have to go to their schools. And then CETAG strike have come to hit. So our students, we as students are just seated in the house, especially level 400 students, without academic activities ongoing, and then they are depleting their pockets, and then these
matters have also come to make it even
worse.
Even worse. But the latest on this, as we have picked, is that CETAG, together with the other relevant bodies, including the National Labour Commission, they are locked up in the meeting, trying to resolve this matter once and for all. The hope is that after this meeting, there will be a roadmap that will lead to, permanent resolution of the matters that CETAG have. But Raza, before I let you go, is that the only challenges you face?
No, that's not actually the challenge we face in the colleges of education. Like Mr. Larry rightly kept it. In the colleges of education, we are faced with infrastructure deficit in the colleges of education. If you come to my college, per se, we don't even have a
Which college is this?
That is Tamale College of Education. We don't even have a well-equipped laboratory for computer laboratory and then science laboratory for students to do practicals. And these are teachers that will complete from these colleges, and then we come to the basic schools to teach the students that we have in the various basic schools. Also, if you come to the colleges of education, like I told you, level 400 have had to stay outside campuses, outside the campus, whilst coming to the campus for academic activities.
Taking care of your own accommodation and feeding themselves.
Yes, you feed them yourselves. And there's nothing to cushion yourself. The allowances that are being given to us are too mega. We are appealing to the government to increase the allowance so that these students would have a buffer, so that they can always rely on, so that the academic activities will go on well in the colleges of education. Even the first semester that we just finished, the allowance component that was paid to that effect was only 2 months out of the 4 months we spent in the first semester. We are still urging and appealing to the government to settle the remaining 2 months arrears, so that students will have something little to depend on in this
very difficult time. Thank you so much for coming to Swali Razak, is President Teachers Trainees Association of Ghana. Again, we are keeping an eye on this matter because the National Labour Commission is engaging CETAG leadership, and then they are hoping that they will resolve this matter once and for all. This is a pause here on Joy News. Now, let me take you outside the shores of Ghana, and let's talk about Julian Assange, the whistleblower behind WikiLeaks. Now, he has left the UK after striking a plea deal with US prosecutors. The deal ends a legal saga stretching back to 2010, which had seen Assange detained in the UK, awaiting possible extradition to the United States of America. For more, here's Arthur Sullivan from GW in Berlin. So, Arthur, remind our viewers who is Julian Assange and how significant is this news?
So Julian Assange is an Australian publisher and journalist and activist who became very prominent in the mid-2000s when he set up an organisation called WikiLeaks. That was primarily a website and a media organisation which published leaked documents and other classified information which it deemed to be of important public interest. Now, Assange was an extremely accomplished hacker for many years, and he had used those skills to access information, and he had also successfully encouraged whistleblowers to give him other sensitive information. Now, the big moment came in 2010 when WikiLeaks released a video showing a US helicopter killing unarmed Iraqi civilians in Baghdad. Now, that put Assange on a serious collision course with the US government, and later that year, many more sensitive US government documents were released by WikiLeaks. So for years, US authorities sought Assange's extradition on espionage charges. They said he was central to, quote, one of the largest compromises of classified information in the history of the United States. So this news of a plea deal allowing Assange to return to his native Australia is hugely significant. It brings to an end a 14-year legal saga between what is the world's most powerful government and arguably the world's most influential leaker of sensitive government information.
So Arthur, why has this happened?
It was a mixture of political pressure, diplomacy and eventually the law which allowed Assange to leave the UK and return home. And it was really in 2022 when this process began, because that year Assange's native Australia, they elected a new centre-left government led by a new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. And while he said that he did not support everything Assange had done, he also made it clear that he felt enough was enough and that it was time for him to be a free man and have the option to return home if he wished. So behind closed doors, he began a campaign of securing Assange's release from prison in the UK and trying to find a way to reach an agreement with the US. So there was various lobbying which took place. Australian MPs travelled to Washington, they spoke to the Congress, they spoke to President Biden. But then crucially, the big moment really came earlier this year when the UK High Court, they ruled that Assange could launch an appeal against those attempts to extradite him. And crucially, that ruling included the idea that Assange could potentially argue that he could use the US constitutional First Amendment right to free speech as a defence. So that put the pressure on for a deal to be reached, and the US ultimately agreed to drop most of the charges if Assange would agree to plead guilty to one charge, that being conspiracy to obtain classified information linked to US national defence. So that was the way he ultimately got released. It was deemed that for that charge he had already served enough time in prison in the UK, and so that's why he is now a free man.
Now, I'm very interested in what Assange will do now.
That's the big question. He is due to arrive in Australia on Wednesday. He has already begun his journey home. It's not clear what he's going to do now. I mean, given that he has for 14 years effectively been incarcerated, first of his own volition while he sheltered at the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and then for a few years after that in a UK jail, it's likely that he would probably like some time to first of all recover, enjoy his freedom, and indeed spend time with his family, because he did father 2 children with his wife Stella while he was in prison, and he has still never met them outside of a prison setting. Now, the big question really is whether or not Assange will resume his activities with WikiLeaks and as a publisher of sensitive classified information. Given his background and his long history of doing so, it's hard to imagine that he's going to simply retire to a quiet life. But also, given the extent of the legal challenges that he has faced and the nature of this plea deal, it's possible that he may steer clear of the kind of work that got him in so much trouble in the past. Now, he is due to hold a press conference after he lands in Australia, and there, you would imagine, he will reveal some information about what the future holds for him.
Well, Arthur Sullivan is with our partners at DWTV in Germany. Folks, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, for more. And the stories from myjoyonline.com. Ambulance case, some Central Region Chief show up in court to support to force him. High Court set July 2nd for Amewu to testify in South election denial case. Bill to regulate cement prices will be laid passed before Parliament adjourns. That's the assurance coming from the Trade Minister, Katie Hammond. Folks, that's our show for today. We have a date tomorrow, Friday, for the weekend edition of The Pulse. Until then, whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I do hope it's profitable. Take care of yourself. We've got latest on this Trade Ministries, LI. We've got something from the Electoral Commission, all coming your way on Top Story or Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM, of course, on Joy News Prime at 7 p.m. with Kojo Brace. Until then, see you tomorrow. My name is Elton Robbie. Have a good evening.